Rabbi Yachad, it's supposed to be able to say that. The nachas I get from seeing this incredible couple. Remember that when they were in Valley Torah, they were special then, and Baruch Hashem, they're giving tremendous nachas to the whole community, and they should just continue together with this Kala Kodesh Hazeh to build Torah, to Marbitz Torah, to Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. And really want to thank all the people involved in putting this together in this special Mossad with all of its Rabbeim and Ramim. They should just continue to go Me'choyel L'choyel. So I think tonight's topic has to do with children and family. There's a lot to talk about. And surely we're not going to be able to exhaust the topic in one evening. I guess that's my invitation to maybe, I'm asking to maybe come back another time, but we'll try. Look at the clock, we'll try not to make it too late. And I think there's so much, the truth of the matter is, when you talk about parenting, we're talking about marriage, talking about the concept of myself, it's so much of a linkage. The truth of the matter is there's so much to be said for sort of connecting whatever we are individually to the kind of husband and wife we can be, and to the kind of parent we can be. It is going to be very hard for us to give over the proper values to our children if we don't have them ourselves. And we'll touch upon that a little bit later on. But let's start with just a very fundamental and basic concept. We are partners. Every parent in this room, and maybe not all parents, but most of us, the vast majority of us are parents. Bez Hashem, if we're not, we'll be one day. And we are partners with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara says, Chazal say to us, there are three partners in the formation of a child: the mother, the father, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And not necessarily that order, of course, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes first. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a shutaf. He is a partner in the process. And somehow in understanding that, we don't stop and say to ourselves often enough, well, if we have three partners in this incredible endeavor called parenting, and we have three partners in what it takes to raise a child, maybe we should look at the most experienced partner and get our lead from him. Instead of trying to rediscover the wheel and reading about Mr. Spock or Dr. Spock, and this one, everybody's got a newfangled philosophy about what it is to raise children. Let's go back to the old school. Let's go back to the oldest parent in the history of mankind. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's see how he parents. Let's see what he does. Let's see how he interacts with us as his children, to be able to learn the messages of what it is to be a good parent. And what it is, like I said, whenever we talk about good parents, by definition, while each subject certainly demands its own focus, being a good parent means being a good spouse, it means being a good Jew and having an understanding of who we are. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu did something very, very fundamental. And I gave a similar talk, a similar concept, at least a theme last week or 2 weeks ago in Torah Semis. That day that Torah Semis asked me to speak was very interesting. The day that I was supposed to speak, I was listening to the radio, and there's a talk show, and they were interviewing the author of this book. And there are actually two authors. Unfortunately, it was a Chinese lady and her husband, who was a Jew. I don't think she was Magayers, I say unfortunately. So it's a Jewish male professor from Yale, his wife, a Chinese professor from Yale. And they wrote this book. It's now it's one of the big hot sellers out on Amazon and the New York Times bestseller list. It's called Triple Package. I'm listening to this, and not assuming that anything that I'm going to listen to the radio at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is going to connect to what I'm going to speak about 8 o'clock that night. But amazing, these two professors did years of research, and they analyzed the various communities in America that have their children do phenomenally well. There's a certain pattern of certain communities whose children do very well. They totally surpass the standard of all other communities in America. And I remember all 8, but one of them certainly was a Jewish community. It was the Chinese community, the Mormon community, I think the Vietnamese community. There were 8 different communities. And these two authors from Yale looked at the qualities, the 3 most significant qualities of what it takes to be successful, of what they're able to do to their children that allows them to be unbelievably successful in however you define success, in education and careers and etc., etc. And it sort of struck me that, I listened to what are these three things? That's the triple package. This is the title of the book, the triple package. And it's amazing to me that these people have to do years of research. And if they just, I could have saved you a lot of time. Open up some Svarim and go into Chazal and read what our Chazal say. And I could have saved a lot of time with the triple package, which is Yale University degrees. You don't need Yale University degrees. But they happen to have stumbled accidentally into three very fundamental principles of what we hold very, very dear. And first and foremost, they said, it was really incredible, is that they give over to their children. These 8 different communities give over to their children a feeling that they're special, okay? That they stand out, a feeling of uniqueness. And exceptionality is the word, that's the word they use, exceptionality, they're exceptional. And I said to myself, isn't that amazing? HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes Adam Rishon, Vayipach Pav Nishmas Elokim. And the very first thing that he does in making sure that Adam Rishon understands who he is, he puts him into Gan Eden, he gives him a mitzvah, but first and foremost, he makes him understand, and this is what is very, very clear of what we need to understand, how unique we are, how special we are, and how we have to give that over. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu informed Adam and informed Chava, and when we start reading Bereshis, we read right away that we are made b'tzelem Elokim. Nasa Adam b'musenu kitzalmeinu. Let's make Adam HaKadosh Baruch Hu says like in our image. We have literally godliness, right? What does the Zohar say? The Zohar says, "Manda nofach midilei nofach." When you blow something up, you take a balloon and you blow it up. What do you have inside that balloon? You have the air that you breathed in from your essence is now in that balloon. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what an amazing word, Vayipach Papav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu blew into us. That means what we have inside of us, that neshama that we have, is literally Chelek Elokam Imao. So what we have to first and foremost understand, and yes, it starts here, it starts looking in the mirror and understanding that, because if you ask me as an educator, as Navid said, Baruch Hashem, it's 28 years, and it's amazing to see that. I would say the number one challenge we have as educators, and I would say the number one challenge, therefore, we also have as parents, is to give our children the proper self-esteem. Now, first and foremost, proper self-esteem. That sense of uniqueness, that sense of exceptionality. We have to make them feel, and this is not stam made up, this is not a newfangled idea. This is exactly, the Pirkei Avos says so. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us how special we are. And he gave us the Torah, and he says, you're the Yam Segula. How many times do we read in the Torah? You're my Yam Segula. You're my Yam HaNivchar. I love you. We're his children. Love, love, love. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the unconditional love HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to us. It's an amazing thing. And that's what we have to give over to our children, that you're special. And it's so amazing. Does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell us that we're special because we do something, because we act in a certain way? We are special simply because we're Jews. That's what makes us special. There's not off on a tangent, but just sort of, in Vayakel Pekudei, one of the questions that all Mefarshim ask about Vayakel Pekudei is why the repetition? We already have all the Nekudas of the Mishkan and Truma Tetzaveh. We have to repeat it again in Vayakel Pekudei. And one of the answers given is an incredible mashal. I'll just say very quickly that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to send us a very powerful message. Because Truma Tetzaveh, according to this pshat, Truma Tetzaveh took place before the Egel. These two parashas were given to us before the sin of the golden calf. Then we had the Chet Egel, and then at the end we have Vayakel Pekudei. So why? Why do I have to repeat it again? Just say the Jews made the Mishkan like HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded them. So this pshat says, because the Jewish people had a problem. How can I possibly make the Mishkan? And imagine a chassan v'kala, and imagine that right before the chuppah, God forbid, the chassan finds out that the kala cheated on him. What a horrible thing. Mamish, to involve yourself in such a terrible thing right before the chuppah. We can't get married. We can't get married. And then she feels terrible about it, and she goes to the chassan, she begs him, please, 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 whatever. And finally, make a long story short, he gives in. Fine, we'll get married. And then he accepts her apology. And a few days later, the truck comes up, they're delivering the furniture, and all the furniture comes out. I ask you, is it possible, is it humanly possible for for that furniture, when the truck comes up brings up the dinette set, brings up the kitchen set, and brings the living room, and brings the bedroom, all of the house, all of the furniture, could the husband possibly feel that it's the same furniture that we picked out together a month ago or 3 weeks ago? It's not the same. In other words, there's a natural blockage. One of the big problems we have is that when we are not successful, we feel deficient. And we say to ourselves, I can't come back. I can't get back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not this HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, Chas v'shalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote Vayakar B'kurei to say to us, understand our relationship is different. My love for you is not conditional on anything. You can come back to me any single time, no matter what you've done, no matter who you are. And no matter you could have sinned in the golden calf, I'm telling you to build a Mishkan, so that the Mishkan could forgive for the Egel and it'll be brand new. That's who we are. We have this ability to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the most special way. So the love that He has for us is unconditional. And that's the love that we have to express to our children. It's a very subtle point, but it's a very important point. Of course, who doesn't love their children? Of course we love our children. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes, and we love them to the nth degree. We would do anything for our kids. There's nobody in this room who wouldn't do anything for their children. But sometimes in our love for our kids, we couch it in terms that they hear certain messages. If as they get older, the love that we have for them is the report card that they bring home, or the grades that they get. If we somehow link it to a particular activity or result, that's not a good message. Because that gives that child the message. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not do that with us, and we shouldn't do it with our children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us no matter what. Now, of course, if we sin, we have to pay a price. But it doesn't affect the love that He has for us. And that's what we have to model. Avram Avinu, incredibly, what an incredible chazal. Avram Avinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram Avinu, Kach es bincha es yichidcha asher hafta es Yitzchak. Famous pasuk by the Akedah Yitzchak. And Hashem says to Avram Avinu, take your son. Avram says, God, I don't know which son. I have 2 sons. I don't know. I have Yishmael and I have Yitzchak. Es bincha. Okay, Kach es bincha. I don't know which son. Es yichidcha. Your singular one. God, I still know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know who you're talking about. I have a Yachid. I have Yishmael who's a Yachid to Hagar, and I have Yitzchak who's a Yachid to Sarah. So I still don't know who you mean. So let me make it clearer. Asher Hafta, the one that you love. God says the Medrash, Rashi says it, but the Medrash is clear. Avram says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what, do I have a measuring rod in my loins? Can I measure who I love? I don't know who I love more. I love them both equally. Asher Hafta, I still don't know. And finally, Es Yitzchak. Finally, he says Es Yitzchak. I'll tell you, Yitzchak, now I know. Says Reb Chaim Shulevitz. He says, what is going on here? Could you imagine in Avram Avinu, he has a Yitzchak and he has a Yishmael. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take the one that you love. And Avram can say with a straight face, I love them both the same. One gives you nachas 24/7, is a nachas machine. Yitzchak was a oila tamima of the purest, most special, most holiest child you could ever hope for. Yishmael was a pera adam. Okay, his hand was everywhere and everything. You're talking about aggravation. Yishmael gave Avram constant aggravation. Okay, he was a bulvan and a grub ying. He was a difficult kid. And you say Asher Hafta, I don't know who you're talking about. So Avram Avinu is giving us this insight that Avram Avinu modeled, and that's why Avram was the pillar of Chesed. He modeled this incredible vision of unconditional love, and he loved everybody. And even his own kids, no matter what, one was giving him nachas, one was disappointing him. The child needs to feel. It's so important. And I'm not saying it's easy. It sounds almost superhuman. It sounds almost above and beyond, but we have to work on. This is the level of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. This is what we have to aspire to. That when we talk about you are special, we give our children a sense of uniqueness. It's not dependent on anything. It's dependent that you're me. You're my flesh and blood. You're my child. I love you, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, when you do this, if you do that, the I love you is separate. You want to talk about what I expect, you want to talk about grades, you want to talk about work, all that is fine. But it has nothing to do with the I love you. Nothing to do with the depth of our heart of feeling that you are my child. And being my child, my love for you and my concern for you and my willingness to do anything for you is unconditional. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship. That's nothing less than HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with us. We have nothing less from Him. We should give nothing less to our children. So that's the first step. This idea of specialness, the idea of you are unique. This sense of giving over to our children, that you are the Am Segula of Yipach Papav Nishmas Elokim, that we are Tzelem Elokim, we have godliness within us. And I love telling the story over. When you do that to a child, when you give a child the special, Rabbi Kellerman was just here for Shabbos. He was in the Anshe Emes, and I've heard a story about his son over the years. He said the story more than once. He had a son that he nicknamed Kadosh. He was a little kid. He nicknamed his son Kadosh. So this little Kadosh was on an Egged bus once, and I don't have to tell you, anybody's been in Israel, you try telling an Egged bus traveling between Tel Aviv and Yerushalayim that my child needs to go to the bathroom, could you please pull over and let my child go to, well, it's not going to happen. An Egged bus, it's not pulling over. You'll have to wait, and but the kid had to go. So after a while, and the kid was complaining, they went to the bus driver, and somehow, amazingly, there was a little place right off the road. The bus driver finally said, okay, we'll pull over. He pulls over, and there was like a little tavern, a little bar. Okay, so the rabbi gets off with his son Kadosh, and he sends him in. He says, okay, please, there's a restroom in there. Kid comes back and he says, okay, everything okay? He says, no, it's okay. I don't have to go. It's okay. I'll manage. I'll wait till we get to Yerushalayim. You drain a cup. You go. You're driving us all crazy. You say you have to go. You hear you have a bathroom. He says, Tati, Abba, whatever he says, I can't go in there. That's a bar, and I'm Kadosh. I can't go in there. I can't go in there. Now, it's a cute story and it's a beautiful little story. But this is reality. If we get our kids, we talk all the time, what do you do about the internet? I give out the internet, and it's a big problem. It's a big problem with the smartphones. Who doesn't have a smartphone now? Just 2 weeks ago, one of my parents got me a smartphone. So I'm also part of the smartphone world now. So, and it does make your life a lot easier, no question. Makes your life a lot easier. I don't have to walk around with a computer, with my emails, it does make life like, and Baruch Hashem. You get shurim, you can listen to Torah 24/7, you can do holy things with a smartphone. It's not tumah intrinsically, it just has a very easy access to horrible stuff. But the point is, how are we going to get our next generation? How are we going to get our children to make sure that they don't, God forbid, go down that horrible road? And yes, we can talk about, certainly separating them from it, and certainly guide and protecting it, and all types of security measures and whatever. I'm not saying it's not it's a bad idea. That's all very good. But at the end of the day, we know one thing: we will never fully protect them from everything that's out there. It's not shaykh. It's not possible. So how are we ever going to really be successful in making our children, giving our children the tools and the equipment to deal with the challenges? Because 5 you can protect, maybe at 8 you can protect, maybe you can hold them back. When they get to high school, even before high school, junior high already, they know what's going on. The minute they walk on the street, they know the music, they know this, they know the movies. You see what's out there. You just drive on the street, they're coming at you 100 miles an hour from every direction. So how are we gonna win this battle? It's a war. The Chavetz Chaim is very clear. Says the Chavetz Chaim, it's the Yetzer Hara. Every single day we get up and we say, we get ready for battle. Okay, we got to get our shield and get our machine gun, get all our defense. We're ready for battle. So how are we going to win this battle? And the really only way to win this battle is this Nakuda, to give our children a sense, I can't go here. I can't go in here. I'm Kadosh. I'm holy. I'm special. And that's why Shevet Levi, say Chazal, Shevet Levi was not exposed to the horrible servitude, the avdus, the avodas perach in Mitzrayim. They were, how did it happen? How were they able to walk around like without a care in the world? Well, because when Paro invited everybody to start the work, you know what he said? He didn't say, okay, Jews, you're going to start working tomorrow like a bunch of slaves. No, he didn't do that. He said, I got a good deal for you. Let's build Pisay and Ramses together, and I'll cut you in on the action. I'll give you a piece of the take. And like good Jews, they were good businessmen. They saw the bottom line, looked like a good deal. So they signed on. They said, okay, I'm in. The only one who didn't sign in was Shevet Levi. And why didn't Shevet Levi sign in? The Das Kedem says at the end of Shemos, Shevet Levi didn't sign up because they already got from Yaakov Avinu, because Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed, you know what he said? He said to Yosef and he said to Levi, you don't carry me. When you take me to Eretz Yisrael, when you take me to Hebron, to the Maros HaMachpelah, you don't carry me. Levi, you're destined to carry the Kalim of the Mishkan. Yosef, you're a Melech. You're too special. You don't carry me. And sure enough, years later, when it came to the slavery, when Paro says, "Nu Levi, how come you didn't sign? You're the only Shevet, you're the only tribe who didn't sign. What happened?" He said, "I'm destined for greatness. I can't. You want me to dirty my hands by building your pyramids? I can't do it. What are you going to do with your Egypt? Your decadence? Egypt was Shtufei Zima. They were the lewdest and the lowest people. And you want me to dirty my hands with this garbage? I'm not going to do it." So you see that when you give people a sense of specialness, of uniqueness, of greatness, that's it. They react differently. And of course, we need other methods as well. Of course, you have to put safeguards and whatever you can do. And there are many, many good programs you add on the computer and make sure everything that they see, you see, and you're able to. There are many things you can do. But at the end of the day, you have to equip that young boy or young girl with the feeling of, I'm special. And how do I go to such a bad place? How can I go there? It doesn't befit me. It's beneath me. And that is really a tremendously powerful tool. And that's why, number one, this issue of uniqueness, the issue of greatness, the issue of Gadlus Ha'adam. We are special, we are great, we are the Am Segula, and as a result, we are destined for greatness. And that was the first big discovery of this triple package, was the uniqueness. It was fascinating what the second one was. What was the second one? What was these Yale professors, what did they come up with? And it was amazing, and it reminded me, literally, I didn't spend a lot of time. I spent one semester in college. Now I'm already a little bit older, so it's not going to, I can, one semester. Okay, so hopefully, it's not going to hurt me too much, but I can divulge that. So I remember my one semester in Brooklyn College, I had a professor, his name was Salant. And I didn't realize till later that he was a direct descendant of Rabbi Saul Salanter. And he gave us an assignment. One of the first assignments of that particular year, he was an English professor. Okay, I took logic, English, and sociology, and I didn't learn much in either of them, but I did a little bit in English. He taught us a few things. So, but Lamaisa, he gave us an assignment. What an amazing assignment! And I didn't realize at the time. Okay, I just really was starting my second year base medrash. He gave us an assignment, and the assignment said like this: a man has two pockets. In one pocket, he must always carry, or a woman, doesn't really matter, but he says, in one pocket, there is a note that says, the world was created because of me. And the other pocket, the note says, I am but dust and ashes. Very interesting. Which is really two principles. The Musar, the great Bali Musar deal with these two issues, and like what he was really saying, I didn't realize he was talking about Rabbi Saul Salanta dealing with the battle between Gadlus Adam and Gaiva. How do you battle those two things? On the one hand, we have to follow Avram. We have to follow Moshe Rabbeinu. These were the humblest of all people. On the other hand, we're Bishvili Nevalam. The Mishnah says the world was created for, why was Adam created by himself? To tell every single person in the world that you alone are worth, this entire universe is worth it because of you. Yet at the same time, I have to be humble. I have to be Anochi Offer Ve'efer. I am but dust and ashes. How do you balance that? And that was his assignment. So basically he was saying, learn Or Yisrael, learn all the Musar Sfarim, and come back. He was telling kids in Brooklyn College, learn the Musar. But he wasn't a religious person. I mean, hopefully now he is, but he wasn't then. But that's amazingly what these Yale professors found out. You want a key to success? It's humility. Number two, humility. Reminded me right back to that assignment. And again, is this something new? Is humility, is anova something that's new to Torah Jews? This is part and parcel of what we're about. And yet, but it's an incredibly important concept that as parents, and we raise our children, this is a very delicate point too. It's not so simple. Now, to give them unconditional love and make them feel special, that's one great thing. But you can't make them feel special, and at the same time make them feel superior. It doesn't work. questions like, you have to have the best grade in the class. And I know, I've dealt with Baruch Hashem, a lot of communities, and we all want, and I mean, the standard of what, I don't want to, maybe single out, it's not fair, but Baruch Hashem, I mean, I can say the relationship we have with the Persian community and the parents are incredible. The quality of what they're able to achieve is amazing. And you're able to instill a sense of real high achieving, high aspirations, high goals. It has to be at the same time with that humility, with that sense of it's not about the best grade in the class. And I speak to a lot of parents over the years, and they admit they make a mistake. They admit, kid comes back, mommy, tati, abba, ima, whatever. I look at that. I got a 91. That's great. You got a 91. Anybody got a higher grade? Why is that important? Who cares who got a higher grade? Who cares that there were 6 kids who were better than 91? It doesn't matter. The only one, I'm so proud of you, got a 91, okay? The most important thing to me, you tried hard, you did your best, that's what matters to me, okay? I'm so proud of you. It doesn't matter what anybody else got, okay? And there's so many times, so many subtle situations come up where we put pressure on our children to not be the best they can be, but to be the best in the class, and even best is arbitrary, because what does best mean? Hey, I have a kid in my class right now. Doesn't have the highest grade. He taught himself. This is an incredible boy. A mamish happens to be a Sephardi boy, incredible boy. Mamish. When he walks in, I feel like standing up when he walks into the classroom. I mean, he's a boy. A month before his bar mitzvah, he walks into Rabbi Louis' office. Okay, I mean, a lot of you know Rabbi Louis. Walks to Rabbi Louis' office. I want a bar mitzvah. I want to have a bar mitzvah. Parents are not religious. I want to have a mitzvah. You want to have a mitzvah? Well, do you know how to read? Not really. I know Aleph, but I don't know how to read. Well, in 1 month he taught himself 2 aliyahs in the Torah. He learned 2 of the aliyahs. He then 6 months later he's in Valley Torah High School, learning in an honors class, pushing himself beyond. I mean, just to see, and the midos and the edelkeit and the ehrlichkeit of this boy is just unbelievable. It's an amazing thing to see. So, that he doesn't have the highest grade. Should he have the highest grade of kids who've been learning in Jewish schools for their whole lives? But he's doing amazing. And he might have the highest grade in the year, but it doesn't really matter. That's not the point. He's pushing himself. He's working hard. They're working hard. That's what counts. That they're working hard. That they're pushing and they're giving whatever they have to their goal. And when we make the grade, again, it leads to so much pressure. It leads to so many problems. And again, it leads to guy Rav Matisyahu Salman. He should be the Mashgiach in Lakewood should have a full shleiman, should be March Yom V'Shonim. He spoke. It could be some of the name here remember, but maybe 10, 12 years ago. He was spoken Torah Emes to all the mechanchim, and he said an amazing thing. He said, I noticed when he was in England, they would have these big Melave Malkas for the Mishnayos Baal Peh. And they would have these kids who would learn thousands of Mishnayos by heart. And they would have the big stage, and everything was beautiful. He would give them a lot of kavod. And he said, you know what, I'm going to watch these boys. I'm going to see what happens with these kids as they progress down the line. They're 13 now. Let's see what happens with them when 19, 20, 21. Amazingly, he said, Rubam Kekulam. He said, almost every single one of them amounted to nothing. People, brilliant, my kids. And he said, I'll tell you why, he said. Now, maybe you have a different idea why. But he said he followed them for years, and year after year, and almost all of these superstars at 13 amounted to nothing. Why? And he said the way he understood Pshat, the way he said it to us, he says, because you know what happened? When you tell a kid at 13, because what did the Rebbeim say? What did the Manalim say? Oh my gosh, she's a people, future Gedolim. So now, again, nothing wrong with giving everybody a sense they could be a future Gadol. Everybody could be a next Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody has the ability, because we don't know what's inside of us. But to say because you did this, so he says that these kids walked into school the next year. They walked into 9th grade, and they said, I'm a genius. I'm the next Gadol Adar. He's a 9th grade Rebbe. If he's a 9th grade Rebbe, it must be because he didn't get an Aleph in Gemara. He must be got a B in Gemara. And I'm an A+++ student. So he's going to teach me. So he taught them bittul. It taught them to nullify who they're listening to. It didn't give them the reverence. So on the one hand, you have to give a kid a sense that he's special, but at the same time, the second step of humility, that there's so much to accomplish, there's so much you have to learn, there's so much you have to do. Of course you're special, but you're not there yet. Okay, and therefore you have to, the Pirkei Avos, at the same time that the Pirkei Avos teaches us how special we are, it says, don't give yourself so much credit when you learn a lot of Torah. Kilakach netzarta. That's what you're created for. That's what your purpose is. So I love you, you're great. But your greatness is not going to come now. It's going to come when you fulfill this dream. And you have so much more. You have to have a vision of, I can change the world. I can do so many things for Klal Yisrael. I can help. But it comes from a humility. And humility is absolutely the most important midah. I've said it many times. I've had many parents come and I get a lot of questions. You know, they come in, they're 8th grade parents. Let me check out Valley Torah High School. Well, what's your SAT average? What are your acceptances to UCLA? I want to know what your AP scores are, and all types of questions. Some even ask, how many block do you cover every year when you learn Gemara? I want to know how many, what do you do in Chumash? What do you do in Halach? All good questions. I don't mind the questions. How many times did I get the question, what are you going to do to make sure that my child is a Baal Midot, that they have good character? Very rarely did I get that question. I think one time in 28 years, a father came to me, a very special son. He had a Baruch Hashem, amazing child who's a big Talmid Chacham today. And he came to me, I remember, it sticks in my mind. He says, at the graduation, he says, thank you, Rabbi. Okay, you helped make my child into a humble young man. He came in with a little bit of a swagger that he's some hotshot, and he left a humble young man. Honestly, it could be, in 28 years, that could be the biggest compliment that we ever got as a school. I'm not kidding you. Because if we can instill anava into a child, anava does not mean, that's not what anava is. Moshe Rabbeinu was an anav. Not only was he an anav, he was the anav mikol adam. And Moshe Rabbeinu stood and fought for Klal Yisrael. He was not a wimp. He was not a pushover. Moshe Rabbeinu was a person who looked at Kadosh Baruch Hu in the eye and he said, "Mecheni no misifrecha." You're not gonna forgive the Klal Yisrael. Get me out of your sefer. I'm not interested. I don't want this job if you're not willing to do it my way. I mean, he was incredible. He was an anav, yeah. He was an anav. Because anivus has nothing to do with being a pusher. It has to do with the sense of, I'm not better than anybody else. I have a purpose, you have a purpose, we all have a purpose. If I fulfill my purpose, I'm better than you. You have yours and I have mine. We're all in the same boat, we're in the same army together, we have the same goals. You're going to help Klal Yisrael, I'm going to help Klal Yisrael, I'm going to do it my way, you're going to do your way. Together, Bez Hashem, we'll bring Mashiach. That's the mentality. So I'll do it because God gave me an IQ, and God gave you tremendous insight to chesed. God gave this person a tremendous insight to make money, and everybody's got a different talent. So what makes me better than you? It's ridiculous. I'm not better than anybody. But if we give our children that sense that, God forbid, that you're better, you have to be the best. You have to be the best. I'll tell you. I mean, there are many, many stories. The cheating that goes on. And I'm talking about even elementary school, not just in high school, because you have to be the best. There are kids who cheat, not so much that they want the A. It's more that they cheat because they can't deal with looking at their parents if they come back with a B. It's not like they don't need it so much, but they're afraid because their parents created such a high standard. And I'm not against high standards, but we have to balance it out. We have to be careful that the high. So what do we have? We have a child who's neurotic. We have a child who feels such pressure. The kid doesn't smile. Again, I'm going to just say what's on my mind. I'm being very honest. It's wonderful if a kid in 8th grade on a Motzei Shabbos runs to the sefer. Okay, we used to run. I'm not involved with Ner Aryeh now, but I used to be involved with Ner Aryeh for over a decade, and we used to run these Shabbatons for recruitment. And I would notice some of these really they're from kids, great, beautiful kids. And Motzei Shabbos comes, so we had a beautiful Shabbos, so we would have learning, we'd have a little bit of learning, and then after Shabbos, and then we'd have basketball and pizza. And there were kids, almost every year, 2 or 3, not a lot, but out of, let's say, 20 kids, 2 or 3, I don't play basketball. I'm running with the sefer, and I'm gonna. Now, listen, if he really wants to do that, and that's who he is, that's fine. But if that child who's with the Sefer and a Matzah Shabbos, who when I went to visit a certain school and the Rebbeim told me, by us we don't have PE. We don't have PE. The PE is only for the weaker boys. The stronger boys, they don't go out and play basketball. The stronger boys stay by learning. I know not everyone's going to agree with what I have to say, but I'm saying, let it be fine. But if that boy is not smiling, if he's not happy, if he doesn't have a simchas achayim about what he's doing, then let him go out. My Rebbe, Henechli was a special mechanech, and he would push a kid to play some ball. Go get some exercise. You have fun a little bit. Because at the end of the day, very few people are Rabbi Yoshev Zatzal's who literally their chiyus and their happiness and their simcha was only learning. You took him away from the Sefer, he was miserable. I want to get back. The Sefer was the Torah was my lifeblood. Very few 13, you have to build up to that level. You don't get that at 13. Very few people have that at 13 or 14. You have to build up. Let him play some ball. Let him have that sense of just, grow up normal. Rav Gifta would say, Rav Gifta is that self from the tells Rosh Yeshiva, he would say, in the olden days, we want our children to be Gadol B'Yisrael. That would be the goal. Today, he said, normal. Just a normal kid. If we have a normal, well-functioning, beautiful, firm child, that's fantastic. Then we're doing great. Because there's a lot of craziness out there. So, yes, we want them to learn, we want to have intensity. It's all wonderful, but we have to realize that it can't be with this sense of such focus in excelling that we lose sight of what they really have and what they really are. An incredible story. I'll share another story with you. The Rishon Zalman Auerbach was once asked by a balabas. He had a neighbor. The neighbor was a big Talmid Chacham in Bayit V'Gan. And he went to Rishon Zalman and he said, I don't understand something. My neighbor has 2 sons, and I have 2 sons. My neighbor is an Am Ha'aretz. He does not know a thing. Okay, Rebbe, I'm a Talmid Chacham. I know a lot. I mean, what I know in my pinky, this guy doesn't know in his whole body. And I have 2 sons, and they're totally average. Totally average. And he has 2 sons, and they're mitziyonim. They're mamish, the best of the best. I don't get it. I don't understand. So if somebody would come to me, I'd say, don't worry about it, you're exaggerating, if it's not good, but that's me, because I'm a very simple, I don't have the insight that Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal had. He was one of the Gedolei Ador. He told him he told him the truth, who would have the greatness to say what it was. He did. Shlomo Zalman, I'll tell you, want to know the answer? I'll tell you the answer. Maybe, I guess he felt that he needed to get the message out. He wasn't saying this to make this person feel bad. I guess he wanted to make a point. And he said, I'll tell you the reason. You want to know why those kids are mitziyanim and your kids are totally average? Because when your kids came home every single day, and you asked your son, what you learned today? Oh, Tati, we learned the Tosfos and Baba Kama, we did the Tosfos. Oh, that's how the Rebbe learned Pshat? He forgot the Shita Mukabetzah sip. He learned wrong Pshat and Tosfos. The teacher says differently. He says, well, you learn Chumash. Oh, right. He forgot the Goraya. He didn't know learn right Pshat. That's not the right Pshat and Rashi. This is the right Pshat and Rashi. He says, he learned from you, again, bittul. He learned from you to nullify. The Rebbe doesn't know so much. Because you knew so much better. When your neighbor's sons came home every single day, and the father said, what'd you learn today? Tati, we learned the Tosas of Abakama. What a lucky boy you are to have such a Rebbe, to have such a Morah. And this is, again, the idea when we talk, and this is not a Shir Lashon Hara, but so many things in life connect to Lashon Hara. When our kids hear from us something about the parent, something about the teacher, something about, I can't believe they did that to you, I can't believe they don't know what they're doing over there. That school is a school our children go to. That school is a school that we have to support. We have kashis, we have disagreements, whatever. We'll deal with it privately with the school. And you have a choice, it's a free country. You can do what you want. You can pick the school you want. But the chas v'sholem, give our child a sense of bittul, because bittul means, I'm better. Bittul means, what are you? Gaiva comes from the lack of the chashivas of the people around me. The last thing we want to do is give our children that sense of gaiva, because that's going to impact them in every relationship. If God forbid we're haughty, then how are we good husbands? How are we good wives? If we think we're the best, no husband's good enough for me. That's another part of the whole shidduch crisis today, because we're dropping people left to right. That's all. Who's good enough for me? Okay, the guy who's going to marry me is going to have to be, well, so I mean, maybe wake up and smell the coffee. Well, wake up to reality. Maybe he doesn't have to be so special. Let him be just a nice guy. But that's what's happening today. So the last thing we want to do, the second component, is so important. It is really the balancing. Mamish, that assignment is so highlights the fact that we have to give our children, at the same time, the sense of uniqueness, at the same time, the sense of I'm special, I'm humble. I'm special and I'm humble. I'm special because of what I've been given. It's Tzelem Elokim. But you know what? So have you, and so have you. And so have you. And all of my classmates have a Tzelem Elokim. We're all special. We're all B'Shvili Nivra Olam. Every single one of us in this room, each and every one, if we're the only person on the planet, if everybody else disappeared and we're the only person left, any one of us in Klal Yisrael, it's important enough for this whole universe to be here. So where do I come off thinking I'm better than you? And where do I come off feeling that I have to have I have to surpass you? I mean, all of that should never factor into any equation. And it should never be part of the way we think and the way we operate. That's a another very, very important part of this concept of what we have to give to our children. The anova, at the same time that we give them the self-esteem. The third part of the package is also something that's it's so basic that it's our oxygen. It's our lifeblood. The third thing that they wrote in the book, the third part of the triple package, is lack of impulsivity or discipline. Discipline. And you think about what a Torah Dika Jew is. What's our bracha? Our bracha is, as Torah Jews, we know exactly what to do. Now, sometimes, we don't always like that. Especially, during the teenage years, we like our independence. We don't like to be boxed in. We don't want to be told what, when, and where. But at the end of the day, when we look back and we see what a bracha we have, that Kosh Baruch Hu gave us a Torah, and He told us how to do it. Now, I don't know if you ever had a chance, if you ever can download Usher Wade. Usher Wade is a wonderful rabbi today who started off years ago as one of the top priests in Europe in the Protestant church. He was like the second or third from the Pope. Pope was in the Catholic Church. In the Protestant Church, he was like second or third from the Pope's level. That's how high he was in the hierarchy of the church. And he has an amazing story. It's Kedai to hear his whole story and how he became a Jew and how he became a rabbi. But one of the things that he talks about is the fact that he started this search of what is to be a good Christian. I want to be a good Christian. So what do I do? So basically, he had big people around him. He had all the Gedolim, Lahavdil, the Gedolim, whatever they have over there. Okay, he went to them. He says, "I want to be." They couldn't tell him anything. Give money to the church, believe, and that's it. But what else is there? I mean, give me something else. Give me something to sink my teeth into. Do we have a question of what it is to be a good Jew? Lahavdil Elef Havdalas, a Jew knows from the minute we get up in the morning to the moment we go to sleep at night. At every moment that we turn, we know exactly what we have to do. Sometimes we don't appreciate it, and that's a problem. That's a whole other, why don't we appreciate it? But at the end of the day, we have a Shulchan Aruch that gives us a sense of direction, a sense of discipline, a sense of focus, a sense of feeling. This is what you don't do, this is what you do. Self-control. What an incredible concept of self-control that the Torah builds in to who we are as Jews. But so that's a third component. We give our children, by raising them as Torah Dika Jews, they're able to control themselves. They know this is yes and this is a no. This is kosher, this is not kosher. This you can eat, this you can't eat. Here you can go, here you can't go. This you can look at, this you can't look at. It's a beautiful thing. It gives you a sense of understanding. I'm truly a soldier in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army. But here's a problem. And here's where we have a real challenge for ourselves. Because Avraham Avinu had a dilemma. And we'll end in a few minutes, maybe leave it up for some questions. Avraham Avinu had a dilemma. His dilemma was, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, Avraham Avinu, I need you to go to the Bima tomorrow morning and announce to your entire household and to your son Yishmael, and I'm telling you yourself, all of you must have a Brit Milah. You have to get circumcised. Okay, and it's your job, Avraham Avinu. So, okay, Avraham Avinu heard God's directive. Tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow we have circumcision. But he was afraid. And he went to, because where was Avraham Avinu recuperating in the beginning of Vayera? Be'elone Mamre. Where does Mamre come into the picture? Who? Elone Mamre? Why do we need Mamre? Who cares about Mamre? The plains of Mamre. So the Das HaKedim says, you want to know why it's the plains of Mamre? Because Mamre gave Avraham Avinu advice. What was the advice that he gave him? So Avraham Avinu said to him, Mamre, I got a problem. Avraham, you have a problem? You are coming to me with a problem? I can't believe it. You're Avraham Avinu. Okay, what problem do you have? He says, Mamre, I need some help. What's the problem? God told me yesterday that I've got to make an announcement to my entire entourage of all the men who follow me that we're having a bris milah. And I'm afraid that they're not going to listen to me. They're going to say, God told you. He didn't tell me. I'm not. What kind of bris milah business? I'm not doing this. When God tells me to have a bris milah, I'll worry about it. Right now, He only spoke to you, Avraham. He didn't speak to me. So I don't want to get involved. So what am I going to do? How am I going to get them to agree to have a bris milah? So says Mamre says, no problem, Avraham. This is what you do. Circumcise yourself, no drasha. You don't need a Melave Malka. You don't have to do it. No, you don't need video cameras. Nothing. Just do the bris milah yourself, and you'll see they'll follow. And that's what he did. And that's the advice Mamre gave. And probably when it comes to parenting, there is no more succinct, bottom line advice that we can give to ourselves as parents, that what we want from our children. And I know I've heard this 1,000 times, but I want more for my children. I want more. I'm this way because of this, my past, all my problems, but I don't want my problems to be impacted upon my children. I don't want my children to be like me. I want them to be better than, that's great. We all want our children to be better than us. Kol kavod. But to ask our children and to demand from our children that which we're not able to bring to the table, that's not fair. That's asking, that's where we, God forbid, touch upon the H word, the hypocrite, where we don't want to go there. Kids love that word. They will jump on it and they will accuse us at a drop of a hat of being, God forbid, hypocrites. What do you mean? It's good it's good enough for you. Why is it good enough for me? Well, I mean, it's not good enough. It's good enough for me because I'm not like you. I want you to be better than me. So, is that fair? Is that fair? It might, for us, yes, we want more for our children. But we cannot start asking them to do things that we're not willing to do. If we make a standard in our home, we have to live up to that standard. We send our children to a certain school, and that school says, do this and do this and do this. If we're part of that school, that's what we have to do. And to give our children, just sign it. Just sign the piece of paper, it's okay. Yeah. You're in the office, it's okay. This is, what kind of message is that? It's a message of, so in other words, so we can play, I can listen to what they say but not listen. I can hear it but I don't have to follow. So it's okay to have one standard that I say I'm going to do and then I go home and do a different thing. That's the exact opposite of Avraham Avinu's level. You want your children to live up to a high standard? Well, you know what? It's got to start with us. It has to start at home. We have to look into ourselves. And that's why every single day, a Jew needs to grow. Every single day we need to learn. Every single day we need to open up that Mussar safe. Every single day we have to try to go to a shir. And whatever we do in the way we daven, the davening is so critical. We have to work on ourselves. We have to be growing individuals. If we are sort of going to live through our children and expect them to be the ones to sort of make a difference in the world, that's great. But we have to feel the same way about ourselves. We can't sort of just live through them and expect them to achieve more. We hope that they do. But we have to be willing to bring to the table that same level of commitment, that same level of focus. And that's what the message of Mamre was. The message of Mamre is, just do it. If you do it, they'll follow. Okay. Should we have one other? Do you have enough time? Or I don't know. Was my... okay. Okay, maybe there are any questions, if anything I said maybe needs clarification or... We're okay? Yes?
So how does the person's marriage or a person's individuality have an impact on child raising?
Well, that's a great point. The Torah does not in any way, it's really a whole other discussion. The question was, how does one's individuality impact one's child raising? And maybe the question is, well, are you expecting me, do I have to then lose my individuality? Maybe that, if I understood what you're saying, where does my ability to be myself, how does it play into, I have to be a parent and fill a certain role? There's nothing about Judaism that says do not be an individual. You know, we had a speaker come by. This guy was a rabbi in Eretz Yisrael. He was a surfer. He ran on, did motorcycle stuff, and he gave a very, very nice speech about being Jewish while at the same time being Jewish. Okay, there is no conflict between being Jewish and being Jewish. We have individuals, okay? In this room, there are a lot of men, a lot of women. We have different attitudes. We have different personalities. We can do different things. And Torah does not say squelch your individuality. It's not what it's about. You are who you are, and be proud of who you are, and use the personality you're given. But at the same time, you have to channel it in the Torah direction. So I think, I'm not sure if that's where you were going with the question, but if the idea was that is there a limit, somehow do I have to remove my individuality in being a parent? I don't think so at all. But I think you have to be committed to the standard you create. Is that where?
Kind of. It was more like how we can improve our marriage to improve our children's lives.
Well, okay, I mean, like I said, there's really so much to talk about. I think that's another discussion about focusing on marriage specifically. Let me just say if there are any other. Again, that's really, I'd love to maybe, if we could time to come back and maybe talk about, marriage as a separate component. Because there's so much to discuss here in the husband-wife relationship. But let me just say one last point, that in raising children, Yitzchak's tefillah was answered, and it was not Rivka's tefillah was answered, but Yitzchak's tefillah was answered. And I'm just going to say very quickly an incredible concept by Rav Simcha Zissel. Rav Simcha Zissel says the reason why Yitzchak's tefillah was answered, when they both were praying in one corner, they didn't have a child for over 10 years. And now, so Rivka was in one corner, Yitzchak's in the other corner, and Rashi says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered Yitzchak and not Rivka. And the question is why? It should be just the opposite. Rivka was a Baal Tshuva. Rivka grew up in the house of Besul and Lavan Arami. So she overcame so much. She was surrounded by Avodah. Yitzchak grew up in Avram's house. So why would Hashem answer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answer Yitzchak and not Rivka? Says Rav Simcha Zissel, of course, typically the Baal Tshuva is much greater. And Mamakon Shebal Tshuva Omeid, nobody can stand. And if we are in that position where we can look back at our lives and say, look wow, that's an incredible place to be, that somebody can say, I've overcome so much to be who I am. But you know what? Our kids have a different challenge. Because Baruch Hashem, our kids and everybody the kids of everyone in this room are not like Rivka's. Baruch Hashem, they're like Yitzchak, because they grew up from homes. They're from parents who sent them to good schools, to beautiful places, to places to learn. You know what their challenge is? You know what Yitzchak's challenge was? To be Yitzchak in Avram's house, but to make it yours, to make it real, to make it that you can be a Yitzchak in Avram and be like an Avram. Avram had no problem separating darkness from light. He was in a world of darkness, and he said, get me out of here. I don't want terach's avodas. I don't want my father's avodas. I want truth. I want light. And when you are in the darkness and you see the light, it's easy to embrace and say, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's in a sense of easiness. And I want the light, I want truth. When you see the truth, it becomes so easy to grab. But when you're born into the truth, when you're born into a frum home, there's a challenge there. And the challenge is, I as a frum parent have to make sure my child, and growing up in my frum home, has the feeling and the ability to make a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of their own decisions. A little bit of feeling that this is my Torah. This is my Judaism. I'm embracing it. And I think what happens too often when we raise our children, we are so tight with them as far as what the rules are, that they grow up to 16 to 17 years old, and did I choose this? Is this mine? Or is this my parents'? And what about me? Do I really want this? We don't want that. We have to think very hard. It's a difficult line. But we have to think about the fact that we want to create an environment. We shouldn't have to be telling our kids too much. We should be making it so beautiful and so uplifting that they should want to embrace what we're living. And it should be theirs. It's your choice. Not to say you can do whatever you want. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying you have to create an environment where our children can embrace it. They can love it. They can choose it. And that's why, again, again, just my own personal, I have my own personal history of one of my children who at 13 years old said, I want to listen to it wasn't bad music and a scale, but it was Gentile music. It was the secular music of the times. It wasn't this rap junk, but it was music, and it wasn't Jewish music. And I had a decision right then and there. I could have said, no, in my house, only Jewish music, absolutely not, and I could have, but my wife and I made a decision. We said, it's not bad. The music doesn't have horrible words. It's not a horrible theme. But just, if you want to listen to it, we don't want the other kids exposed to it. So use headphones. And amazingly, and I'm not saying this is always going to work, but Baruch Hashem, within a year and a half, he dropped the music. And I'm looking back, what a difference. If I would have forced it, he always would have wanted that music. And it wasn't something that's usher. I mean, you can argue, it's not really usher. It's not treif music. It's not music that is vulgar. It just was, the popular stuff. But he chose to drop it. And what a decision. If I would have forced him to drop it then, it always would have been, I want it, or I'll sneak it in, or I'll play the game. And this way, by showing him, it's not our standard, it's not what we believe in. I don't want the kids exposed to it, but I'm not going to stop you. But you know how we feel about it. And then they have that comfort level to then maybe decide, you know what, I don't want to go here. It's a tricky area, but it's something that's very, very important to think about. We have to make Yiddishkeit theirs. They have to feel it belongs to them. They have to embrace it and love it, because if they're not loving it, God forbid, eventually comes a time, chas v'shalom, that they say, you know what, I don't need it, and I don't want it. Rav Moshe Feinstein said we lost a whole generation because the European Jews adopted a Yiddish expression. You know what he said? We lost a whole generation because when the Jews in Europe came over to America, you know what they said? Shver zu sein a Yid. Difficult to be a Jew. Rav Moshe said, Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Gadol Hador, he said, if you talk that way, what's a kid good at? Shver zu sein, it's difficult to be a Jew, so who wants it? So I'll work on Shabbos Chas v'Shalom because I don't want it to be shver tzizana. I don't want it to be difficult to be a Jew. We have to give our kids the feeling, how beautiful it is to be Jewish. How beautiful it is to lead a Torah life. How beautiful it is to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu. How beautiful it is to have mitzvos and to be able to feel that we're the Am HaNivchar. B'ez Hashem, if we can give our children that sense of dignity and beauty and greatness, B'ez Hashem, we'll see great nachas from our children. Tzchus b'zoicha to go meichol choil, b'zoicha to be a Mashiach mehevim.